Hello, Middle 3. Today we will explain Unit 3, Genes and Genetics. The lesson is the main principles of heredity. Kinds of traits. Number 1, hereditary traits. They are the traits that are transmitted from one generation to another. For example, hair color, skin color, number of fingers, and the blood group. Number 2, acquired traits. They are the traits that aren't transmitted from one generation to another, like the skill of playing football or writing. What's the meaning of genetics? Genetics, it is a science that researches the transmission of the hereditary traits from one generation to another by studying the similarities and the differences between the parents and the offspring. Mendel's experiments. The scientist Gregor Mendel was the first founder of heredity. He performed his experiments using pea plants. Why? Due to, number 1, it is easy to be planted and it grows fast. Number 2, its life cycle is short. Number 3, its flowers are hermaphrodite, so it can be self-pollinated. Number 4, it can be easily artificially pollinated, human intervention. Number 5, it produces large number of plants in a generation. Number 6, it has several pairs of easily recognized contrasting traits. Despite the numerous different traits of pea plant, Mendel chose 7 main traits to conduct his experiments. Seed shape, smooth or wrinkled. Seed color, yellow or green. Pod or fruit color, green or yellow. Pod shape, swollen or sinuous. Flower color, red or white. Flower position, side or end. Stem height, tall or short. First, the inheritance of one pair of contrasting traits. Mendel's experiment to study the inheritance of the seed color traits of pea plant. Number 1, Mendel chose a pea plant that produces yellow seeds and others that produces green seeds for several generations, and he made self-pollination for these plants for several generations. Why? To be sure of the purity of his trait. Number 2, he planted the seeds of these plants when flowers appeared on the produced plants. He removed the stamens from these flowers before anther becomes mature. Why? To ensure that the plant doesn't self-pollinate. Number 3, he made cross-pollination for number 1, the flowers of yellow seeds plants with pollen grains from green seed plants. Number 2, the flowers of green seed plants with pollen grains from yellow seed plants. Then he covered the stigmas of the pistils after pollination. Why? To prevent cross-pollination from another flowers. Then he planted the produced seed. He observed that all the produced plants, which are first generation, have yellow seeds with 100%, and the green colored seeds traits disappeared completely. And then Mendel let the first generation plants do self-pollination, then planted the resulting seeds. He observed that the produced plants, which are the second generation, its quarter is green seeds with 25%, and the 3/4 is yellow seeds with 75%. Mendel named the traits that appear in the first generation as the dominant trait, and the traits which disappear in the first generation as the recessive traits. So, when I get one yellow seed with green seed, all the first generation will be yellow, so 100% will be yellow. But in the second generation, 3 seeds will be yellow, but 1 only will be green seed. So 75% will be yellow and 1 only will be green, so 25 will be green. The principle of complete dominance. The appearance of dominant hereditary trait in the individuals of the first generation when 2 individuals are crossed over. One of them carries a pure trait, contrasting the trait carried by the other individual. So, dominant trait, it is the trait that appears in all individuals of the first generation. But the recessive trait, it is a trait that disappears completely in the individuals of the first generation. This table indicates the 7 pairs, dominant and recessive, of pea plant. In seed shape, dominant is smooth, but recessive is wrinkled. Dominant in seed color, yellow, but recessive is green. Bud or fruit color, dominant is green, but recessive is yellow. Bud fruit shape, dominant is swollen, but recessive is sinuous. Flower color, dominant is red, but recessive is white. Flower position, dominant is side, but recessive is end. Stem height, dominant is tall, but recessive is short. Okay, thank you.